Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, guys, we're looking at snow cover. So you could see that, obviously Canada is pretty covered in snow. And we have snow extending all the way down into Texas, into the Panhandle, into Oklahoma. Of course, all the way through New Mexico, Colorado as well, into Kansas. And, check out what happens as we go on with the week here. So let's jump out till tomorrow. We see increasing snow making its way on down all through the Midwest, really. And we go into Wednesday, Thursday. Look at Friday. It's coming into the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, all of New England, and all snow covered. Saturday, more snow. In through Pennsylvania as well, and into Virginia, West Virginia, and jumping over till Monday and next Tuesday. So, hey, if you like snow, you're going to be very happy because we got some and it's heading this way. And yet, while we have snow, we also have a 90% likelihood now of a tropical depression, tropical storm development over here. And so yesterday was at 50%, now it's at 90%. If we were in peak hurricane season, we would all be nervous right now. We'd all be praying for everybody along the Gulf Coast, everybody in Florida, Carolinas, thinking, oh, here we go again. Thankfully, we're past peak, and this should not be too strong, but you never know what's going to happen. There's a cold front, the snow what we are looking at, that's going to be dropping on down, and so that could end up steering this off. We'll have to see how it goes. So right now, this is looking like it could impact Florida for sure, maybe the Carolinas and Georgia as well. It's still too early to tell. Either way, it should not be super strong, but you never know in these times. These are crazy, crazy times. And then you never know what could develop as well. So it might end up getting pushed on up and develop into a northeaster. We just don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on it, though. And so while we should technically be kind of done with hurricane season, we're not done yet. And we're far from done over in California. The fires are actually getting worse in many cases. The northern fire got worse overnight, the Camp Fire. It is now the most deadly, devastating one in history, and it's increasing. And some of the worst news is that the Santa Anas are going to be kicking up tomorrow, and actually going to be around hurricane force strength. So it could really even get worse tomorrow than it is now. So let's pray for everybody over there in California as the death and destruction is continuing over there. Thousands and thousands of people without their homes now. Hundreds of thousands on the move, evacuating. Fire's getting worse. Not a good situation. We also have many celebrities that have lost their houses as well. Miley Cyrus, Neil Young, Gerard Butler, Robin Thicke, all have watched their houses burn down. All of them are safe. And, as Miley Cyrus says here, completely devastated by the fires affecting my community. I'm one of the lucky ones. My animals and the love of my life made it out safely, and that's all that matters right now. My house no longer stands, but the memories shared with family and friends stand strong. And then we have a message from Robin Thicke there as well. And here we see Gerard Butler looking at what's left of his house and his vehicle. And not looking good. And a heartbreaking time. And he's giving thanks to the firefighters that are fighting this. And we have a tropical cyclone, Gaja, moving towards Sri Lanka and southern India. At the moment, it's basically like a Category 1 strength, but we could watch it and see if there's going to be any strengthening, and it's heading for southern India right now in Sri Lanka, heading on through, and this one is the 6th, I believe. Let me see if they say. Yep, it's the 6th named storm of the 2018 North Indian Ocean cyclone season. So, and everywhere it's been busy. This was a record year for the Atlantic and Pacific. Record. And speaking of records here, Venice is, the flooding is actually getting worse. And the city's grand plan won't save it. And so, as we were talking about, we're going to be faced with choices. And, it might not be feasible to live in certain areas. And some areas might have to actually be abandoned unless huge public works programs are put into effect. Public works programs like we haven't seen, we haven't seen many over here since the 40s, really. And the 30s and the 40s with getting out of the Great Depression, we haven't seen like major ones, but we're going to have to do something that would even dwarf that on a grand scale if we're going to really help protect people, property, and mitigate the damages that are coming due to all the changes that we're seeing. And in many cases, it just might not be feasible. And so Ebola outbreak is now the worst in history of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and officials are saying that it's going to spread into Uganda as well. And they have over 200 people dead, over 330 confirmed cases, and no other epidemic in the world has been as complex as the one we are currently experiencing, said the country's Minister of Public Health, Oli Olunga Kalenga. And so you got a very, very, it's a tough situation that they have there because there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of gangs going on as well, and you have now a lot of people that are terrified of the WHO and are afraid of vaccines as well. And some are trying to escape, and in their escape, they're also spreading it. There's a lot there, and look forward to your comments there as well. So we have, after 10 years of the recession and very, very low inflation, now inflation is starting to take off. And we know there's crop losses around the world due to all the weather. It's going to happen. We also have tariffs. We have all the trade wars going on. And so you're seeing crazy prices in certain items and a lot of price hikes, anywhere from 2 to 10%, announced by a lot of companies recently. And so things are changing. Things are totally changing. Higher prices aim to pad revenues for some companies like Apple, which just raised sticker prices for their new MacBook Air laptops and iPads by 20 to 25%. So they're padding their profits in these times. But for a growing number of businesses, they also represent a response to mounting transportation costs. A stronger U.S. dollar is similarly cutting into foreign earnings, while a tight labor supply is at last pushing up wages. So it's a dynamic thing that we have, situation going on. American manufacturers are now paying 8% more for aluminum than they did a year ago and 38% more for steel as local producers increase their prices. And you know what? There's good and the bad in that. And some of what President Trump is doing, if you really truly feel like a war with China is inevitable, then what he's doing is perhaps self-preservation in a lot of ways, because I worked in the steel business years ago, and so much of the steel business was outsourced and just gone. We had huge steel towns, especially Pennsylvania, right? Steelers, Pittsburgh. So many of these companies closed down, and really the way things were couldn't compete. So people are buying Chinese steel and aluminum, and that leads to the manufacturing not being here. And if the manufacturing is not here, in wartime, manufacturing is part of what wins wars. And I'm not a warmonger at all. I'd love to see all the countries of the world come together and just say, hey, well, let's cut it all down 90%, and let's throw that money into basically saving people, saving infrastructure, saving homes, putting the public works up to mitigate damages from all the climate disasters we're seeing all around us, and growing food for the world, which is going to be needing food, and we're going to have a lot more starving people very soon with the way things are going. However, if you do believe that war is inevitable with China, which I don't believe any war is ever inevitable if we just, get past egos, and a lot of it's just ego when you get down to it. But from their point of view, they're doing something smart because they're going to drive manufacturing back home, back to here. And at the same time, my personal beliefs are definitely more in line with the libertarian point of view, in which there should be virtually no government. The only government we should have is in time of emergency, where we come together to basically defend ourselves. No central federal government, and basically the power should be to the states and to the people, and just coming together in times of disaster, and in times of war where we're getting invaded, for self-preservation, to pull together. Because, the big federal government we see is not something that was originally intended by the Founding Fathers, and that's why we have, all the changes to the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, that we've seen over the years as this has turned into a corporation. And so it's not bad to pay more, when it really benefits everybody locally as well. So you need to think local, but we also need to think global. It's really a very complicated scenario, but really what we need is some true leadership at the top in a global way that will get past the corporate reality that we face, and that has pitted us always one against the other, always in fear. And so we have this couple which are saying, screw this modern society, we are going back to the Paleolithic age, and we're going to live and survive off the land just as they did way, way back. And this couple runs Outback to Basics. It's an organization which educates school children in skills in life in the Stone Age, from painting, eating bugs, how to, prepare the bugs properly, maybe dip them in cinnamon and sugar, and making arrows, to the workings of a compost toilet. So as you can see, they're covered in the skins. They literally are, they're survivalists. And so this is Naomi Walmsley and Dan Westall, husband and wife. They eat bugs, wear homemade clothing with rabbit fur and Paleolithic designs, and hunt with bow and arrows. And so they do get some funny looks when they turn up at the gas station in these outfits, which includes face paint every now and then, or get stuck in a traffic jam. Children think they really are from the Stone Age, and adults just look stunned, so they don't say anything. But they've actually created an accurate stone village near Blimhill Common in Tong Staff in the UK. So pretty cool. And, hey, this is prepping to a high degree. Do you think they're ready when the grid goes down? Yeah, they are ready, willing, and able to handle anything that comes their way. And so, guys, 1 million Americans live in RVs. These are the modern nomads. And there's just something that just so inherently appeals to me about that. Just owning an RV outright and being able to go anywhere you want, it still feels so appealing to me. It really does. Just the ability to move, be mobile, enjoy the warmth and the heat while you can in a certain location, but when the hurricane comes, get out of there. Intense storms coming in somewhere else, well, let's just move to another location. It's time to move on. Of course, if you're caught in it in some of the severe winds, it might not be the strongest place to be. But the mobility and also the freedom is great. People are starting to say, even if I could afford a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 house or more, why should I get that? Why not just get by with what I really, really need and not worry about money, and actually enjoy each day, deciding what I'm going to do that day when I want to do it? That's a beautiful thing. In other words, getting out of the system. Getting out of the system is beautiful. The system is what controls us, and we need to get out of the system. The more of us that could step out of the system and start to create our own system, quote unquote, one in which we're basically helping each other out, working together, and we're not just simply slaving away to pay taxes all the time, or doing somebody else's schedule that they want us to work, then we're really truly living. And that's part of the whole problem that we've seen, is that we're not really living for ourselves as much as living for others and living for the system. So we need to change that. And more people are becoming modern nomads, and they're doing it. They're totally doing it. And so hats off to them. And always, my friends, Please thumbs up to support the channel, subscribe and join our family. Click the bell, make sure you get all the notifications, and share with as many as possible. May you guys always be blessed with abundance, peace, love, happiness, and well-being. And may you truly live your lives for yourselves and for your family, and live it the way you want to. God bless, and namaste.